Okay. Now, we're going to move on to the motion respecting reconsideration of Council's resolution to approve the participation in Partners for Climate Protection. Council's already voted that it's not a reconsideration. So what we'll start out with is we have two delegations presenters, and up first I have Maggie Braun from Ecosystem Management, and I'll call on Maggie for a delegation. Is Maggie here, or is she online? She's online?
She's ready to go. She's sharing her screen now.
Okay, Maggie, and I'll ask you to state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Maggie Braun, and I am in Ward 4 of Peterborough, Ontario.
Thank you, Maggie, and your presentation's up on the screen, so you can start. And you have 10 minutes maximum for your presentation.
Thank you very much. I wanted to thank the mayor and council, the city staff, and the residents of Thorold and Niagara for an opportunity to share some information on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, ICLEI, International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives, Partners for Climate Protection Program. And there we go. And to support the motion to reconsider the council's resolution to approve the participation in this program. So I'm going to go over the origin, the aim, the supporting rationale, the benefits and disadvantages of the program, and bring forward some recommendations. And I did a presentation for the Environmental Committee, so I'll just jump through some of the information and provide some additional information from our last meeting. Thank you. So in 1992, Brian Mulroney signed Canada on to UN Agenda 21, along with 178 nations who all agreed, and this international agreement promised to bring big money for going green. Once signed, Canada became a UN member state, a nation state, and in a sense, our towns and cities were, in a sense, abandoned and merged with others to form UN city-states. By the year 2000, we saw countries being governed by the direction of the United Nations, the G7, the G20, the Council of Foreign Relations, the World Economic Forum, the World Bank, and the World Health Organization, along with a lesser-known international organization called ICLEI, or the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives, now called Local Governments for Sustainability. This is an unelected international organization that has partnered with the Government of Canada and through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities created various programs, including the Partners for Climate Protection Program. In 1994, the same year that they created the Partners for Climate Protection Program, the FCM sent a municipal primer to all Canadian municipalities subtitled Promoting Sustainable Development Through Local Strategic Action. And I think it's important to define the word sustainable development. That is a term that was coined in the Brundtland Commission prior to Agenda 21 being signed. And it stated that land cannot be treated as an ordinary asset controlled by individuals, and public control of land use was indispensable to save the land and resources for future generations. On page 9 of the municipal primer is a flowchart showing how Agenda 21 would be implemented through Canadian municipalities. This is a blueprint for achieving sustainable development. And if you notice the means of implementation, and this is where the Partners for Climate Protection Program comes in, they promote education, public awareness and training, provide information for decision-making, and transfer environmentally sound technology. The program offers tools, networking venues, events, case studies, and other informational resources, and access to the PCP Secretariat, who offers coaching and technical assistance. I highly recommend looking over their website. The supporting rationale for the program is, of course, to do with climate change, and it states in their joining resolution that climate change is increasing the frequency of extreme weather events, and that Canada has committed to limiting the global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius. So the following slides I'll just breeze through quickly, but in August last year, the World Climate Declaration, signed by now over 1,900 scientists, put out a declaration stating that there is no climate emergency. And the following slides are a combination of direct quotes from this declaration as well as related peer-reviewed studies. So only 0.3% of published scientists stated in their papers that recent warming was mostly man-made. Natural factors as well as man-made factors cause climate change. Mostly the orbit and tilt of the Earth drive the interglacial and glacial changes. And we can see in the geological archive that the Earth's temperature has varied as long as the planet has existed. We've only recently come out of a little ice age in 1850, so it's no surprise that we're experiencing a period of warming, and that actually peaked in 1930 and went down. So the rationale for the program hasn't held up over 30 years, and I think that that's a good thing and a positive thing for humanity and the Earth. And we can see that human activities have little impact on global climate compared to natural factors. And because of those natural factors, it's not possible to limit the global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius. The IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, is the main source of research for the United Nations, as well as the Partners for Climate Protection Program, and most NGOs operating under the name Sustainable with your city's name in it. We find that the world has warmed significantly less than predicted by the IPCC models, and that these models not only exaggerate the effect of CO2, they also ignore the benefits of additional CO2 in the atmosphere. So CO2 is not a pollutant. It is the basis of all life on Earth. It is not the primary greenhouse gas. Water vapor is. And CO2 makes up only 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere. And they found that the warming effect of CO2 actually decreases as its concentrations increase. CO2 is plant food. It feeds people. Additional CO2 in the atmosphere increases soil moisture, promotes growth in the global plant biomass, and is profitable for agriculture, increasing the yields of crops worldwide. They also found that global warming has not increased natural disasters. We're actually finding that Antarctica is cooling and gaining ice. There are more polar bears today than 50 years ago. And extreme heat events, forest fires, landfall hurricanes, extreme tornadoes, and droughts are all in decline. One has to ask why the IPCC isn't correcting the policymakers as well as mainstream media on falsely reporting the findings in their report. So when it comes to our health, we're finding that less people are dying from temperature-related deaths, and that is because cold weather kills far more people than warm weather every year, and that's something to consider here in Canada. So again, there's no statistical evidence to support the program's supporting rationale, and I believe that lack of scientific certainty should be used as a reason for postponing sustainable development, especially when we look at the CO2 mitigation measures, and that we're finding that they're as damaging as they are costly. Canada is definitely experiencing a lot of cost-related hardships right now, and that is something to be considered, especially since Canada's trees absorb far more CO2 than we put out each year, and we're technically already net zero. So I already covered the benefits of the program, and of course, it's supposedly free, so what's the catch? Is something that I heard the councillors ask when this was brought forward last time. And it really comes down to your municipal plans and your council's authority and liability moving forward. So municipal plans, such as your upcoming strategic plans, will be drafted with an emphasis on UN directives. And what we're finding is that these municipal plans target mobility and energy security, and they're incorporating EDI ideology into the climate action plans. These plans are being done by the Partners for Climate Protection Program, and they are also doing the surveys for the program, and they are consulting with local NGOs who are also partnered with ICLEI. They're also starting to deny deputations of this sort and stating that the city considers its decision-making under the UN directives because Prime Minister Trudeau is aiming to achieve Agenda 2030. So your official plans, and this is where the real hardship really comes in, the official plans we're finding restrict private property rights and severances. They also redirect population growth to selected settlement areas or the bigger cities. And this reduces the tax revenue and services to smaller municipalities. So really our towns are turning to ghost towns and our cities are turning to tent cities. So that is a result of this of sustainable development, quote unquote. So this really affects your council as well. Once you adopt this program and then begin adopting the plans that it puts out, you'll find that the elected official and the corporate staff on the file will continually put before the council items which, if endorsed by council, will redirect your public funds and assets to private sustainable development goals, such as the EV charging stations you discussed last time. This will also take staff, committee, and council time reviewing, approving, and implementing this agenda. And councillors who oppose the UN directives will face the Integrity Commissioner. And it is of note that should be really important is that the Government of Canada and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has waived all liability for this program. So all the liability falls on those who endorse it and implement, and that would be the council and the city staff. So regardless of Canada being a UN member, no level of government has the authority to implement foreign mandates, policies, treaties, or any agreement that violate the Canadian Constitution, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the Bill of Rights, or the coronation oath. And in this case, I think it's important to note, and I say this not only as educational purposes for you, because I don't believe that it is your intention to do this, but conspiring with foreign powers to assist in any act preparatory to the takeover of our nation is an act of treason according to the Canadian Criminal Code. Thankfully, this program is completely voluntary and you can leave the program at any time, and that is our recommendation. I like to remind councils that they are the governing body of the municipality, the custodians of its powers. They have a duty to represent the public, consider the municipality, and to protect the integrity and the decision-making authority of their positions. With that, the residents of Thorold and Niagara want to support you in asserting that authority over this voluntary program, and we recommend that you support the motion to reconsider the resolution to participate in the Partners for Climate Protection Program. And with that, I did want to say too, of recent news, 95% of rural municipalities in Saskatchewan have recently put forward that they agree that CO2 is not a pollutant and they are no longer implementing any net zero policies in their municipalities. They found them to bring quite a lot of hardship and downfall in their economies. And in other municipalities where we're working, they're now having to do a lot of work to redo those strategic plans. Because like I said, once they get into the strategic plans, then the councillors who and the city staff who are on that file will point to those plans as a reason for targeting our mobility and our energy security and the other disadvantages to the program. So with that, I'm prepared to take any questions, and I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Maggie, for your presentation, and I'll open up the council floor for questions. Are there any questions of the presenter? Go ahead, Councillor Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. Maggie, I know, and I read in one of the report, they measure electricity as being a proponent of greenhouse gases. Could you verify that? Like, could you say that the generation of electricity through water, wind, and solar creates greenhouse gases?
It seems that no matter the source of the electricity, it is measured. And for instance, with natural gas here in Kawartha Lakes, the second largest rural municipality in Ontario, they have voted to not put any further natural gas infrastructure into the area. And they point to their Healthy Environment Plan, which was done by the Partners for Climate Protection program. So I'm not sure as far as all the measuring that takes place, but it's quite a lengthy report. And I know it does take time from the staff and the council to approve all of it. And this is, of course, energy security, something that is one of our primary needs in Canada. So it's a lot of work for something that we need to use.
Thank you. One other just follow-up question. Would you happen to know off by hand how many credited scientists in Canada believe that there is not a climate emergency? I know I was looking, I believe it's like over 40.
Well, according to the World Climate Declaration, it goes up every day or every week. They update it, and there's 145 scientists from Canada, and all of them have a background in earth science and science related to earth science and climate science. So, okay. And there's way more than that, obviously. I myself have a background in ecosystem management, and when I studied it in college, I could see just based on basic geology and the geological archive that that there was a lot of hype around man-made climate change, and they were kind of ignoring the fact that the trees absorb the carbon and actually grow bigger when there's more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation tonight too also.
Is there any further questions for Maggie? Seeing none, once again, Maggie, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Up next, I have Mark Lafab, resident, and I'll call on Mark for his delegation respecting Partners for Climate Change Protection. Is he online or is he here? He's online.
Coming in now.
Okay. Welcome, Mark. State your name and address, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Mark Lafab. I live at 157 St. David's Road in Thorold, Ontario. Thanks very much to the Mayor and Council for listening to me this evening. I won't be as thorough as Maggie. I'll actually be pretty brief. I just want to start by asking Mr. Trenum, does Council have a copy of what I sent earlier, I think yesterday?
Yes, it's attached to the agenda.
Just the sheet of paper?
Yep, it's attached to the agenda.
Okay, thank you. So, like, I won't read the whole thing for everybody, but basically what I'm saying is that there is a lot of cost implications for participation in the Partners for Climate Protection program. And without knowing what the total cost is going to be, or the cost analysis, or how the initiatives align with this city strategic planning, it might be preemptive at this time and maybe cause for not participating in the program at this time. I'm participating as one of the citizens of Thorold in a strategic planning process or focus groupings tomorrow. Some of the information that's coming forward is that the mean household income as of 2021 in Thorold is less than the provincial and federal average, which means taxation is an issue for citizens of Thorold. They don't make as much money as they do in Ontario, as the average Ontario family or the average Canada family. And so all program initiatives have cost as a factor, and that includes staffing costs for these kind of initiatives. I was online looking at what the federal plan and action plan was and the provincial action plan was, and then the region action plan was. The region has an initiative that this initiative might align with, but it doesn't align with anything that Thorold's doing currently, especially if there's costs involved that we are not aware of. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I wouldn't support it as a citizen of Thorold. I think it's costly, or at least we don't know what the cost will be. And until that happens, I don't think the city should participate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mark, and I'll open the floor for questions. Are there any questions for Mark?
I could, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mark. So, Mark, what you're saying basically is that from what you've done in your research and that stuff, it wouldn't be on a good position for the city at this time to move forward being part of the Partners for Climate Protection, and let us get through our strategic plan and our official plan, and maybe down the road we could deal with it then. Because I do have some cost, and I'm going to let council know here from another municipality in Niagara, I do have some figures at how much it's actually going to cost us, and it's not a few dollars.
Yes, I agree, Mr. Hanley, and I know council's keenly aware because they dealt with some consultant reports. There are staffing issues in the city. There are a number of issues that are going to impact budget, and I think that all has to be considered part and parcel of anything that council does or moves forward on. There has to be cost, and value for those costs has to be a consideration.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you, Mr. Lafab. Thank you, Mark, and thank you for your presentation. Councillor DeAngelo's got a question.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you coming this evening and your questions that you posed. Those are the types of questions I wanted to see have an answer this month from last year. So we're no further ahead because we didn't get some of this information to us. So again, these are the types of questions that we needed answers for. So I do appreciate you bringing that forward and your continued support of our community on the various committees you sit on.
Thanks again. Go ahead, Councillor Jerome.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for sharing your thoughts with us tonight. You made some valid points. Mark, can you just share your background of what you're? I've known you for years, and I know you well enough to know that you're very intelligent, and just share what your past experiences are, as far as work goes.
That's a very boring story, Councillor DeRose, but I spent the first 10 years of my career as a regional police officer. I spent a year as an investigator with the Ontario College of Teachers. Spent 27 years in education. I was a superintendent of education. I'm very happily not doing any of those things anymore. I'm very happily retired, and sorry to be bothering all councillors and the mayor with all my issues. But just looking forward to a betterment of our community. That's my current passion.
Yeah, I know. I really respect that you showed up. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, and Mark, we appreciate your input on numerous things that you're involved with in the community. Okay, that's the end of the presentations. Now, the original motion we'll put on the floor. Can you put it up, please?
Actually, Mr. Mayor, sorry. The original motion no longer goes on the floor because it's not a consideration. I believe Councillor Handley now has his motion that he'd like to move.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Handley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. My motion is basically in two parts, and whereas the Council for the City of Thorold support the motion to rescind the resolution to join the FCM UN Partners for Climate Protection Program. And whereas those in public office hold decision-making responsibilities in any UN directive program, partnership will limit council decision-making options. And whereas the Council of the City of Thorold reviewed the municipal primer of 1994, and whereas the Council for the City of Thorold reviewed page 3 of the World Climate Declaration, therefore be resolved that the municipality rescind their resolution to join FCM UN Partners for Climate Protection Program dated March 19th, 2024. And to speak on the issue, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, wait, let me
Okay.
is there a seconder for that motion?
Yeah.